Instead of moving forward, it feels as if we're moving backward. The question is, what are we going to do?
Tonight, crowds return to the mall in the nation's capital, 60 years after a historic call for action. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Human rights activist Martin Luther King III stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial just hours ago, attempting to invoke the memory of his father's famous I Have a Dream speech. The impact of those marches, both today and in 1963, are connected to Atlanta. 11 Alive's Tresia Bowles spent the day speaking with civil rights icons. And Tresia, you've had some powerful conversations.
Very powerful, Latasha. We usually focus on the march, but there were events for several days, including a massive church service on the mall. And when I asked local leaders how far we've come, they made it plain that we've made progress, but the work is not over. For the souls who look back and wonder if we truly got over.
60 years later and we're fighting the same struggle is a little disheartening. But what's new to us about disheartening?
The anniversary of the March on Washington is a wake-up call that Black people are still making the same demands from 1963 in 2023.
That's what's missing today. We were willing to sacrifice and risk.
And at the time, Gerald Durley was only 18 years old. He marched with 250,000 protesters feeling buked and scorned on the mall. This went on to become one of the most impactful racial justice and equality demonstrations in the history of this country. And it happened on a Saturday, much like today.
The original march was about jobs and freedom, and we seem to still be in pursuit of the freedom part.
Now connecting the past to the present.
The fact that we're standing here, there were no Black city council people 60 years ago. My father led the group to desegregate the facilities here.
Michael J. Bond is motivated even now by his father's work. Julian Bond was an activist and leader with SNCC, pounding the pavement, shouting, "We shall overcome too."
For him, so many African Americans in one place, on the same page.
His son now leading his own path with the Atlanta City Council.
We need to be always challenging America to provide the full access of its franchise to every citizen.
As some still feel like a pawn in the game, Durley says Black people may not be sitting in the back of buses and drinking from segregated water fountains, but the fight for voting rights, housing rights, educational opportunities, and access to health care still remains.
That same institutional racism is glaring in our face.
Durley says he's still encouraged, seeing the broad support from all over the country commemorating in Washington, D.C. today is the hope
I have a dream
of the dream.
Every now and then, I think you need a booster shot. Today was a booster shot after 60 years.
And Bald told me something interesting about his father. Of course, he was excited about everything they accomplished for them, but it was a huge deal that he got to meet Sammy Davis Jr. and get him a Coca-Cola.